International diplomacy usually flies under the radar, quietly shaping the world behind closed doors and away from the public eye. Most of the time, the intricate dance of global politics is conducted in hushed tones, with only the occasional headline hinting at the real drama unfolding in embassies and government offices. But this week, all that subtlety is gone. Diplomacy has burst into the spotlight, dominating front pages and news cycles around the world. The stakes are high, and the players are some of the most influential figures on the planet. The UK's Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, has just touched down in China, marking a historic moment as the first British leader to visit the country in 8 years. His arrival is more than a diplomatic courtesy. It's a signal that the UK is ready to re-engage with a nation that's become central to the world's economic and political future. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, US President Donald Trump is making waves of his own. Never one to shy away from the limelight, Trump is quick to weigh in on Starmer's visit, using a glitzy red carpet event as his stage. He calls the trip very dangerous, warning of hidden risks and questioning the wisdom of engaging so openly with China. Trump's warnings aren't just idle talk. They add a real sense of tension to the proceedings, especially since he's rumored to be planning his own high-profile visit to China in the near future. The rivalry between the US and China is never far from the surface, and Trump's comments only serve to heighten the sense of competition and uncertainty. At the heart of it all is President Xi Jinping, the architect of China's global ambitions. Hosting Starmer with the calm precision of a chess grandmaster, Xi is keenly aware that every gesture, every word, will be scrutinized by both allies and rivals. For Xi, this is more than a meeting, it's a chance to showcase China's influence and to test the resolve of Western leaders. This isn't just a photo op for the history books. Behind the handshakes and smiles there are tough negotiations underway. The UK, still finding its footing after Brexit, is looking for new economic opportunities and trade deals. China, meanwhile, is eager to strengthen its ties with Europe, especially as tensions with the US continue to simmer. The convergence of these three leaders, Starmer the pragmatic newcomer, Trump the unpredictable disruptor, and Xi the strategic powerhouse, creates a moment of extraordinary significance. Each brings a unique style and agenda to the table, and the world is watching to see who will set the tone for the next chapter of global politics. The stakes go far beyond simple diplomacy. Economic interests, security concerns, and the shifting balance of power are all in play. The decisions made in these meetings could shape alliances, impact global markets, and influence the direction of international relations for years to come. For the UK, it's a delicate balancing act, walking a tightrope between the promise of economic opportunity in China and the ever-present concerns about security, human rights, and the skepticism of its closest ally, the United States. Every step is fraught with risk, but also with the potential for reward. Around the globe, journalists, analysts, and ordinary citizens are glued to their screens, waiting to see how this high-stakes diplomatic drama will unfold. Will Starmer's gamble pay off, forging a new path for the UK on the world stage? Or will the risks prove too great and the backlash too fierce? One thing is certain, the world is watching, and the outcome of this moment could echo for generations. So, what did the UK and China actually agree on? 3 main areas: crime, trade, and health. First, they'll share intelligence to crack down on people smugglers and illegal immigration, especially those infamous channel crossings. Second, they're cutting red tape for UK exporters, making it easier for British goods to reach Chinese consumers. For UK businesses, this could mean more sales and fewer headaches. Third, they're teaming up to fight antimicrobial resistance, a global health threat that needs big players at the table. On paper, these deals look practical and mutually beneficial, but as always, the real test is in the details and the context. Can the UK secure real gains without giving up too much? That's the question behind every handshake and headline. The stakes are high and the world is watching. Enter Donald Trump, stage right, with a warning from afar. From his gilded residence at Mar-a-Lago, Trump's voice cuts through the international noise, echoing across the Atlantic with a message that's as much performance as policy. He's not just a former president, he's a showman, and he knows how to command the world's attention, even from thousands of miles away. This time, his target is Keir Starmer, the UK's new prime minister who's making headlines with his high-profile outreach to China. Trump wastes no time, branding Starmer's diplomatic overtures as very dangerous. What might have been a routine state visit is suddenly transformed into a global spectacle, with Trump's words splashed across news tickers and social media feeds. The world watches as a simple handshake in Beijing becomes a lightning rod for controversy, but here's the twist that only Trump could deliver. While he's busy criticizing Starmer for engaging with China, he's also quick to remind everyone that he considers President Xi Jinping a personal friend. In fact, Trump is already laying the groundwork for his own visit to China, hinting at back-channel talks and the possibility of a grand diplomatic return. It's a classic Trump maneuver: condemn others for the very thing he's planning to do himself, all while keeping the spotlight firmly on him. This isn't just political theater, it's a strategy. Trump's approach is to keep allies and rivals alike guessing, never quite sure where he stands. He'll criticize, then imitate, then claim credit for any outcome. It's a pattern the world has seen before, and one that keeps everyone on edge. And it's not just in the UK, in Trump's crosshairs. He's also turned his attention north, warning Canada against getting too close to Beijing. The message is blunt. If Canada pursues its own trade deals with China, Trump threatens to slap tariffs on Canadian goods, risking a trade war that could ripple across the continent. For America's neighbors, the stakes are suddenly much higher. The underlying message is unmistakable. Trump wants to be the sole architect of America's relationship with China. In his view, only he has the savvy, the strength, and the negotiating prowess to handle Beijing. Everyone else, whether friend or foe, is playing with fire. For the UK, this creates a diplomatic minefield. On one side, there's the promise of new economic opportunities with China. On the other, the risk of alienating a volatile but powerful ally in Washington. British officials are left walking a tightrope, trying to balance their own interests with the unpredictable moods of the White House. Downing Street insists that Washington was kept fully informed about Starmer's China visit, but Trump's public outburst has changed the narrative. Now, every move is scrutinized through the lens of US disapproval, and the British government finds itself on the defensive, explaining and justifying its actions to both domestic and international audiences. The UK must now juggle not just the complexities of dealing with Beijing, but also the challenge of managing a very vocal and unpredictable White House. Every diplomatic gesture is fraught with risk, and the margin for error has never been smaller. In this new era, every move is under the microscope. Alliances that once seemed solid are shifting, and the old rules no longer apply. Leaders are forced to adapt on the fly, recalibrating their strategies as the global landscape changes by the day. The diplomatic stakes have never been higher. One misstep could trigger a cascade of consequences, not just for the UK, but for the entire international order. Every handshake, every statement, every headline is loaded with meaning. Welcome to the new era of global politics, where unpredictability is the only constant, and every nation must learn to navigate a world in flux. Back home, the response to Starmer's high-profile China trip is nothing short of polarizing. The country seems to be split right down the middle, with reactions echoing through both the corridors of power and the boardrooms of Britain's biggest companies. The visit has sparked a national conversation about the UK's future direction on the world stage, and the stakes could hardly be higher. In the business community, there's a palpable sense of optimism. Top executives and industry leaders are hailing the trip as a much-needed step forward, calling it a pragmatic and strategic move in a world where China's economic influence is simply too big to ignore. For them, Starmer's willingness to engage signals a commitment to keeping Britain open for business, even in a complex global environment. These leaders argue that forging closer ties with China could mean more jobs, fresh investment, and new opportunities for British workers and companies. They see the visit as a chance to secure vital trade deals, attract international capital, and ensure the UK remains competitive in a rapidly changing world economy. For many, it's about safeguarding livelihoods and future-proofing the nation's prosperity. But inside Parliament, the mood is far less celebratory. Critics from across the political spectrum have accused Starmer of kowtowing to Beijing, arguing that he's putting economic interests ahead of national security and British values. Some MPs warn that the UK is risking its reputation by appearing too eager to please a regime with a troubling human rights record. The opposition is especially vocal, warning that Britain is turning a blind eye to China's alleged human rights abuses and growing security threats. Protesters have taken to the streets, and lawmakers are locked in heated debates questioning whether economic gains are worth the potential costs to the UK's moral standing and national safety. The government, for its part, insists it's walking a careful line, practicing what it calls robust pragmatism. Officials argue that engaging with China is necessary for Britain's economic health, but stress that they're not afraid to challenge Beijing on issues like security and human rights when needed. They claim this balanced approach is the only way to protect both the UK's interests and its values. Security officials maintain that all risks are being carefully managed, with intelligence agencies keeping a close watch on potential threats. Yet despite these reassurances, many critics remain unconvinced, arguing that the government is underestimating the long-term dangers of deepening ties with China. The debate is fierce and shows no signs of cooling. Is China a vital partner for Britain's future, or a strategic threat that must be kept at arm's length? Politicians, analysts, and the public are all weighing in, and the arguments are as passionate as they are complex. The answer to this question will shape not just the UK's foreign policy, but its domestic politics and global reputation for years, perhaps even decades, to come. Every decision made now could have ripple effects far into the future. Ultimately, the stakes are about more than just trade deals or diplomatic gestures. They're about the values Britain wants to stand for, the alliances it chooses to build, and the kind of country it hopes to be in a world where the lines between friend and rival are increasingly blurred. Starmer's China visit is a high-stakes gamble. The prize, economic growth and new markets for a post-Brexit UK. China's vast economy offers huge opportunities for British industries. Supporters argue engagement is the only way to influence Beijing and secure UK interests. But the risks are real. Deeper ties could make the UK vulnerable to Chinese leverage, espionage, and supply chain threats. There's also a moral cost. partnering with a regime accused of human rights abuses. Critics say the UK risks sacrificing its values for profit. The government claims it can balance economic gains with security and principles. This is the tightrope prosperity on one side, integrity on the other. The outcome will define the UK's global role for years to come. Zoom out, and the logic of UK-China engagement becomes clear. China is the world's manufacturing powerhouse and a massive market. The UK is a leader in finance, education, and innovation. The UK needs China's market and supply chains. China wants British expertise and access to Western capital. This codependency makes a clean break impossible. Both sides have too much to lose. The UK's strategy: use its strengths to secure better terms and balance the relationship. For China, the UK is a gateway to global finance and prestige. Despite political friction, economic logic keeps bringing them back to the table. The hope is that shared interests can bridge political divides, but this partnership is always under strain. One misstep, and the whole arrangement could unravel. The stakes are global and the test is just beginning. What does all this mean for ordinary Brits? If the deals work, UK businesses could expand, creating jobs and boosting the economy. More exports mean more investment and better public services. But there's a flip side: reliance on Chinese goods makes the UK vulnerable to supply chain shocks and price hikes if tensions rise. Cheaper imports can also threaten British manufacturing jobs. Security is another concern. Deeper ties raise risks of cyber espionage and data breaches. The government's challenge: reap the economic rewards without compromising safety or sovereignty. For most people, the impact will be felt in their wallets, and, potentially, in their sense of national security. The stakes are personal, not just political. The opposition's attack is blunt. Starmer is kowtowing to Beijing for economic crumbs. They argue the UK is sacrificing its principles, ignoring China's human rights abuses and aggressive foreign policy. Critics warn that short-term gains could lead to long-term dependence and political concessions. They see China as a strategic threat, not a partner. This fierce debate ensures China will remain a flashpoint in UK politics. Every deal will be scrutinized for signs of compromise. The government must prove it's not trading away security or values for trade. The battle for public trust is just beginning. As Starmer leaves China, the UK stands at a crossroads. The new deals mark a bold re-engagement with a global superpower. Supporters see opportunity, growth, jobs, and global influence. Critics see risk, dependence, moral compromise, and security threats. The real test will be in the months and years ahead. Can the UK balance prosperity with principle? This is a high-stakes bet on the future. The dice have been rolled. The world is watching to see how they land. The next chapter in UK-China relations has just begun.